I've been researching AI for 13 months, interviewed dozens of experts, spent thousands of hours learning about AI, and built a following of 77,000 subscribers. I'm gonna compress 13 months of brutal AI truths and lessons into this one video. The first lesson is that the smart get smarter. And this is a concept from Balaji Srinivasan, and it's basically the AI version of the rich get richer, right? Everybody knows that a rich person has extra money, so they invest it and that grows even more, while poor person lives paycheck to paycheck. For AI, the smart get smarter. So the people on the cutting edge get even more on the cutting edge, get even higher advantage, while the people who are behind fall even higher behind. And that is because they are not using AI. You cannot really compete with somebody who has teams of AI agents working for them, who has automations in place, who's using the greatest, latest language models. And honestly, this is going to be like in the future, right? Right now, we don't even see this that much, but in the future, the smart will really get smarter to the point of having super intelligent AI at your fingertips. Imagine GPT-7, right? If somebody has access to GPT-7 and knows how to use it, that person cannot even be in the same realm as somebody who doesn't. Like, it's not even fair, right? This is why 13 months ago I dropped everything. I stopped uploading on my gaming channel and I went all in on AI because I realized that getting into this field and learning about it now will have a huge advantage in 10 years where other people wake up to it and see the full potential. So if you think you're late, don't worry, we're all still very early. The idea number 2 is that technology always keeps on improving. And honestly, this is like the underlying idea behind all of AI. So the people who don't take AI seriously, they don't have this belief or they didn't realize this truth that technology, like betting against technology improving, you don't want to do that. Like, that's a horrible bet. It's much wiser to realize that technology is always improving, meaning AI will always get smarter and smarter, more competent, more useful, which eventually will lead to AGI and even later to ASI, which is artificial superintelligence, where the AI is just smarter than all of humanity combined times a billion. And that might seem crazy if you're new to AI, but honestly, you have to start with the fundamental belief that technology always keeps on improving. So it might take 10 years, it might take 50 years, that doesn't really matter. What matters is that if we really keep improving compute power, which is one exponential curve, the Moore's law, if we keep improving the number of parameters in models, or also the efficiency of the language models, for example, Llama 37B, which is this year's open source best model, is as good as Llama 270B. So a model that is basically 10 times bigger from last year. And that's just pure efficiency. And there are many of these exponential curves happening in AI. And overall, like, betting against the AI field is perhaps one of the worst things you can do because technology always keeps on improving. People tried to ban the printing press when it came out, and that was a horrible decision. I think it was like wasn't it called Byzantine Empire or something like that. Or no, I think it was the Ottoman Empire actually. They tried to ban the printing press and they completely fell behind because of this decision. So understand that technology always keeps on improving, and this alone should make you take AI seriously. Now, most people are afraid that AI will replace jobs, which certainly will happen. However, AI will replace tasks, not a job. Before we see like AI doing full jobs, it will be replacing small parts of jobs, which is also called tasks, meaning the stuff, everybody has a job that has things that could be automated. AI will replace the things that are the most easy to automate. It will not do the most complex, nuanced, creative stuff. It will look at the stuff that's repetitive, that's boring, that will be automated by AI. So instead of being like, oh my God, AI will take my job, no, it will take parts of your job, which will then hopefully allow you to focus on higher leverage activities. So this is why I don't see AI as bad, because I understand that first, it will take parts of the most repetitive. Like, everybody has stuff they hate about their business, about their job, right? It's like when they do the studies, it's 80% of people either dislike or straight up hate their job. But suddenly when AI is, or robotics is advancing, people are like, oh my God, I want to keep my job that I hate. Why not just automate the parts of your job that you dislike, the most repetitive, mind-numbing labor, and focus on the high leverage value producing activities? This is exactly what AI can do, and why I do not think, and by the way, I learned this from Sam Altman, which is super interesting belief, that AI will not replace jobs, at least not in the near future. It will replace tasks. And if somebody gets fired, it is simply because they've been doing that tasks that was easy to replace, not because AI is taking over entire jobs. One thing I realized recently is that lawyers are basically large language models. Let me explain. So, what is ChatGPT, right? Well, most people use ChatGPT to get advice. It's just predicting the next token, giving you the most relevant output based on your query. What is a lawyer doing, or a tax advisor, right? Well, they are giving you advice, but instead of paying $20 a month, or actually ChatGPT is now free, they charge you like $1,000 an hour or something ridiculous, right? So this is where people can really start to see the potentials of AI. Nobody really likes to deal with lawyers, let's be honest. Nobody really likes to do their taxes. What if GPT-6 could do that for you, and it would be better than even the best tax advisor? Also, it would be much cheaper, obviously, and faster. So this is really insane that if you think about it, there are professions that are basically glorified large language models. Now, I think lawyers will not be replaced immediately because they are protected by, let's say, regulations, right? And it's good to have like a human with empathy when defending somebody. So there are definitely some aspects to human lawyers that are beneficial. But if you think about like the parts, or like dealing with certain positions that you hate, or at the airport, right? Like scanning the incoming suitcases at TSA checks, that is just image recognition. Even the best humans cannot compete with some image model, image classifier that has seen millions images of knives or guns or whatever and can just spot them in an instant, right? A human is sitting there like, bored at the job, maybe spots some water bottle or whatever, but it cannot compete with AI. And I think this is the main promise, that AI will do the jobs and the positions that don't really add value to society and automate the things that people hate about life and about dealing with certain businesses or positions. When you get into the AI field, you will hear the term AGI, which stands for Artificial General Intelligence. And it's basically AI smarter than a human, right? An AI system that can do anything a human can, equally as good or better. Now, AGI can be developed in many ways, right? Right now, it seems like it will probably be closed source, meaning the code, the source code of it will not be released. The weights and the data sets will not be available to the public. I believe this is the greatest danger of AI. I seriously think that we have to make sure that AGI is open source and decentralized. That way, no single entity, no like hidden, group of 5 people has control of what we think. Because this is another thing, people don't realize that when you use ChatGPT, you are not fine-tuning it. It is fine-tuning you. Every single prompt, especially the ones that are like on your beliefs or something you're not sure about, it is making you more and more aligned with the biases built into that large language model, which in case of ChatGPT is obviously OpenAI, which is located in San Francisco. So if you don't want the typical tech San Francisco beliefs, you have to be careful what you listen to, right? Imagine AGI. Obviously, ChatGPT is still very limited compared to AGI, but once AGI is here, once we have really something smarter than a human in all aspects, you have to make sure that it's open source. You want to make sure that it has your best interest in mind. Like, how do you know, like, even if that is in a robot, let's say, how do you know that a robot in your house has your best interest? Like, I would never get a humanoid robot into my house that is not open source. Like, I want to see what it's programmed to do. I want to see if there isn't some backdoor or something sketchy in the code, right? This is why I seriously believe that the greatest danger to AI is AGI not being open source. And I think we have to do everything in our power to make sure that AGI is created open source. One thing that I'm confident in is that unrestricted open source models will actually overtake the cutting edge best closed source models. Now, why do I think this? Why do I think that me and you in 6 to 12 months will be using a worse model, a less intelligent model than GPT-5 or whatever is the best model at that time? Why do I think we will use something dumber? Basically, it is because it will be more useful. If you have an unrestricted model that answers everything, it will be more useful to use cases where ChatGPT is like, hesitant to give you the answer, kind of beats around the bush, or just straight up refuses, right? So let's say you're writing a novel and there is some bloody scene. ChatGPT will just not help you there, right? Or let's say you are doing something where, example, right? I had a video that was about unrestricted models, funnily enough, and Claude 3 actually refused to help me generate titles for that video because it was like, I don't believe the ethics of a unaligned AI could be dangerous, potentially dangerous. Like that's crazy. Imagine for your specific use case where it might be something with like culture, religion, your beliefs, whatever. It doesn't matter. It's basically you want the unrestricted model to answer everything. You don't want it to. You don't want to even prompt engineering to like try to like imagine if it's a movie where someone steals a car. Like why not just say the thing you need help with and then get the answer? So I think I would happily sacrifice 5-10% of IQ or performance for a model that actually answers everything. And that's why I think like seriously in 6 months or in 12 months, probably 12 months, let's be honest, we will be using models that are run locally, or if you have a bad computer, you can run it obviously in cloud, but a model that just answers everything instead of super restricted Claude 3 or GPT-4, which, I mean, everybody who used it knows how just annoying and like permissive the guidelines are. And once you use a truly unrestricted model, it just feels liberating. You can ask it anything and it will help you with anything. One way to think about the potentials of AI is to compare it to other technologies. So think about walking, right? If you need to get somewhere that is far away and you need to walk there and it takes you 4 hours, well, if you have a bicycle, it might take you just 1 hour. That is the power of technology. At the end of the day, AI is just new technology and it gives you an immense advantage over people that don't have it. So if somebody wants to transport to their work and they don't have a car, they don't have anything, just walking, that's like super low leverage. If somebody has a bike, that person instantly gains an insane advantage. And obviously, after a bike comes a car, after a car comes a train, then comes an airplane, then comes a rocket. There are many levels to this, right? So AI is simply a technology that gives you leverage, helps you do more, achieve more with less. And honestly, right now I would say we're probably at like the bicycle/car stage. Like we still haven't seen most benefits of AI. That's why most people are ignoring it. They're looking at the current, not at the future. This is a mistake. You have to look into the future. You have to look, where will this technology be 5-10 years from now, and prepare for that. Look for that and be like, okay, I want to be in this industry. I know it's going to be huge 10 years from now. Even 5 years from now, it's going to be massive. I want to be there now. People who are looking at the current, large language models or agents and looking at what they can do now, be like, oh my God, the agent failed to do this. The agent cannot do that. Agents are useless. Or AI is overhyped. Maybe today, but certainly not in 3, 4, 5 years from now. So that's why you really have to compare it to other technologies such as walking and riding a bicycle. If you don't have the bicycle, like imagine 200 years ago or whatever, somebody comes to you and like, hey, I have this bicycle. I know you've been walking to your job for 2 hours every day in the morning, coming back for 2 hours in the evening. I got the solution. It's a bike. Now it just takes 20 minutes or 30 minutes for you to get there. Nobody would be like, keep that for you. I love my long commute. Same with AI. If AI can automate the part of your boring job, as I said earlier, nobody will kind of resist that, right? Once you see the powers of large language models, of AI, once you see what it can really do, you're not going to go back and be like, okay, yeah, I'm not going to use it. I'm going to ignore all this amazing technology. So that's why the walking and bicycle example is really powerful. Let's say you can start a business, but you don't have to hire somebody. You can, from the get-go, have 50 employees underneath. That is the promise of AI agents, really. Like, before that, starting a business was inaccessible to many people, right? Let's say 50 years ago, 100 years ago, where you had to actually hire people because there was no, like, computers, technology, or whatever. Now, AI agents will allow everybody to have 50 employees underneath you doing tasks that you don't want to do or tasks that you are not good at, doing them for you. And I think this vision is actually so empowering. Like, imagine actually having 50 employees for pennies on the dollar. I mean, if you know anything about API cost, it is that you can, like, for dollars, you can get millions of tokens. Meaning, and obviously the costs are going down. So when GPT-4o recently released, they announced that it was like 2 to 3 times cheaper than GPT-4 Turbo, which was 2 times cheaper than the original GPT-4. So the costs are only going down. So in the future, all of us will have AI agents that are running essentially for free, doing tasks for us 24/7 while we're sleeping. There's going to be an agent that checks your email, summarizes the most useful ones or whatever, and gives you a summary. Or there's going to be an agent that searches the news every 20 minutes, right? It gives you the summary of the most crucial AI news or other news, if you're like watching football or whatever. It doesn't matter, right? But you're gonna have AI agents doing stuff on autopilot 24/7 for you for pennies on the dollar, basically free. And you're like, the power you'll have, like, that's why I believe that Naval Ravikant is right when he says there will be a billion companies. There'll be literally billions of companies where it's like either one person, two people just doing something super specialized, super niche that they can be the best at, and everyone will have 30, 40, 50 agents underneath them, working them, giving them more leverage, and helping them get done in a week that right now would take a year. So the reason why I think personally I was so serious about the AI revolution is that I missed the previous two revolutions, which were obviously the internet wave, the dot-com bubble of 2000 and 2001, and then the social media revolution of 2007 to 10, I guess. Obviously I was like barely even born for the internet revolution, which really happened in the 90s, like all the benefits, right? And then for the social media age, I was like super young, basically a child, so I couldn't do anything about that. This is like the first technological revolution that I can actually be a part of. That's why when I realized the power of AI, it wasn't really like a hard decision. Obviously, it's a hard decision to completely drop everything, especially a successful channel. So a successful YouTube channel would be a complete dream for most people. To completely drop that and go from fresh, start everything, no association, no cross promotion, new name. I didn't use my face in my gaming channel, so literally zero people crossed over. I had to drop everything, completely new industry, a new niche, a new video format. Like, man, obviously it's a huge risk on paper, but like, for me, the decision was kind of obvious. Like, the moment I realized this is my chance to be part of a once in a lifetime technological revolution, it was kind of obvious. It was like kind of set in stone. Like, it was only a matter of time. Obviously, I took a few months to kind of convince myself into it, but deep down, I knew that I was gonna make the switch. And honestly, like right now, obviously, 13 months later, I can say that it was the right move. But all along, I knew it would be worth it. And this is exactly the type of decision that most people would not make. Therefore, most people don't have the benefits. If somebody is making 20K a month doing YouTube, like, that's insane amount of money for the vast majority of people. There's no way they would get that to basically zero, completely kill the channel, which by the way was averaging 1.2 million views a video, stop uploading and go to something from scratch. But again, as Warren Buffett says, it's not about how hard you row, it's about the boat you're in. Alright, so you're probably watching this and thinking like, David, but why should people care about AI? Well, it's gonna change everything, basically. That is the short answer. The long answer is that it will let them do the things they always wanted to do with less effort, less money, less time. It will potentially cure all diseases, help us achieve 200, 300 years average lifespan, but more on that later. It will change everything we know about the society, like things that matter right now. People are working for money, for, desires, pleasures. Those things might not even be relevant. AI could even potentially solve like warfare, right? If there was a super intelligent entity that could show us like, hey, the guys on the other side are not as bad as the media makes it out to be, then we would probably not send our kids, our sons, to those wars, and there would potentially be world peace for the first time. Obviously, those are super long-term things, but like, why should people care about AI? Well, because what else would they care about? Like, it's the biggest thing happening in the world right now. We're literally building a new species. There's a new kind of entity being emerged. Like, 200 years ago, let's say, I keep saying this, but whatever, throughout all of history, basically, it was the idea that God created us. Well, it turns out we are actually creating God, right? We're creating a super intelligent being that's gonna be smarter than all of humanity combined, times trillion. I mean, it's really incomprehensible. Once AI starts improving on itself, all bets are off. I mean, it's kind of impossible to predict after that point. Like, after the singularity happens, you don't know what's going to happen. So everything I'm honestly talking about in this video is before the singularity, because after the singularity, it's like being consumed by a black hole while a supernova is happening. I don't know how to describe it. Nobody really does. Like when AI starts improving on itself, and once it is super intelligent, better, smarter than all humans combined in history, anything can happen. So one of the things I hear from beginners especially is that it's easy to get overwhelmed when looking and reading all the AI news, right? And there is a simple hack for this that lets you avoid all shiny object syndrome, and that is simply ignore everything for 7 days. If something in the AI space is being talked about more than 7 days after it's released, it probably has some significance. The truth is that most products, most tools, most ideas are completely forgotten about like 2 weeks after they're released. Like, let's be honest. The AI space is like as announcements every other day. So if something is talked about 7 or more days after it's released, it probably matters. So in order to avoid overwhelm and shiny object syndrome, just like don't pay attention to things and only look at stuff that people have been talking about for a week or longer, because that is probably the thing that you should focus on. And this simple hack lets you feel less overwhelmed and more focused while still not sacrificing being on the cutting edge. So I already touched on this briefly, but living forever. Will AI allow us to live forever? Well, first of all, that is far into the future. Let's start with a middle step, right? What is between our current lifespan of, let's say, 80 years and living forever? Well, that might be living to 200 years, right? And when you say living forever, that, I don't know why, maybe it's like religious reasons. People just have a weird reaction when you say that living forever might be possible, or that somebody could live forever. Or if you ask them, do you want to live forever? They're like, no, I don't want to live forever. But they never really thought about it. Like, if you ask 2 questions, you realize they're just repeating something they heard. So what's the middle step? Well, that is just living to like 300 years, right? If you ask anybody, if you had the chance to live to 300 years old with perfect health, let's say your health from when you're 18 or 20, perfect health, maybe even perfect looks, 300 years, would you do it? Or would you die at 80 with miserable health and pains everywhere? Obviously, 99% of people, probably, hopefully 100%, would say yes, I would live to 300 in great health. Well, that is the middle step between living to forever. So don't even worry about living forever. For now, let's just focus on extending our lifespans and improving our health. And okay, back to the question, right? Will AI let us live forever? Well, the answer is not if, the answer is when. Because again, all you have to go back to the fundamental belief of this video and of AI. Technology always keeps on improving, which means that we will have nanobots, we will have proteins that can, help us cure any diseases. We will have new technologies that can, target specific parts of your body to kill, cancer cells. There will be so much stuff, it's even impossible to predict. But again, it's not I can't tell you when that happens, obviously, but I can tell you that eventually it will happen, even if it takes 100 years. The point is that eventually those things will be solved, and once aging no longer exists, the concept of living forever becomes possible. Now, obviously, you might still die from an accident or from some freak, somebody wanting to kill you, but like dying from aging, that could very feasibly, very likely be solved in the next 50 years. One of the biggest mistakes I see beginners make, especially when it comes to agents, is having unrealistic expectations. So obviously everybody wants to automate half of their work. They want to automate something that takes 4 hours, right? That is the incorrect approach. What you want to do is you want to find the smallest possible things in your day-to-day, or even if it happens once a week or once a month, it doesn't matter. Just small tasks that are easily automatable with AI, and start there. Because if you do that, you will get the benefits of compounding AI automation. So automating something that takes 2 minutes every week, like 2 minutes a week, that is not inspiring, that is not, motivating, but that adds up. Like, there's 50 weeks in a year, or 52, right? So 2 minutes times 52, that's like 104. That's 104 minutes per year. And that's just one small automation. Again, that's the goal. The goal is to compound. If you add a 2 minute save here, 5 minute save there, 3 minutes save there, and you have like more and more of these small little time saves, like with agents and just AI in general. Over time, you'll find yourself having way more free time than somebody who doesn't have it. And it's going to be the things that are the most boring and repetitive. And you're going to find yourself doing the things that actually bring you joy, make you fulfilled, and create value in the world, while all of these like small pesky tasks will be done by AI agents. So you have to make sure that you get the compounding benefits of agents. You start by analyzing all the tasks you do and choosing one. You have to choose one and get to building. Honestly, that is the secret. There is a lot of friction at the start, but you have to build your first agent, your first 2 agents. Once you do that, it becomes infinitely easier. And this is the same with everything. Like going to the gym for the first time, scary, intimidating. But when you go to the gym for the 100th time, it's like literally effortless. It's like breathing air. So with AI agents, you have to do the same. You have to start the compounding process. Same with investing. With investing, you have to invest early when you're young and keep investing so that it compounds. With agents, you have to start with something small, something easy to automate, and build on top of that. Save 1 minute there, 2 minutes there, and you'll be shocked in 2 years just how much time you have. Now, AI safety. The term AI safety is one of the first terms you'll hear here in AI, let's be honest. And it kind of sounds good. It's kind of like the term Federal Reserve. It's supposed to sound interesting and relevant, but as we know with the Federal Reserve, it is not a federal institution and it doesn't hold any reserves. AI safety, like, it's one of those things that everybody wants to support. Oh yeah, of course I'm for AI safety. But once you really dig into it and realize what it means, you realize that it's kind of a unfounded movement. Basically, it's people who think that AI will just one day decide to kill us all, choosing to put regulations on it today. So if you look at ChatGPT or any language model, literally any AI model that exists today, there are precisely 0 worrying things about it. It is literally predicting the next token, and that's exactly it. That's it. There is no like developing secret agenda of escaping the computer, or there is no like secret communication language that it tries to encode or install a virus when you didn't do it. Agents, like people who don't understand agents, they just assume that what if an agent goes rogue and suddenly uninstalls all programs on your computer? First of all, that is impossible, because if you don't give it that tools, it will not do it. Second of all, it is predicting the next token, so it is following the rules. It's literally the architecture doesn't prevent it, doesn't let it do that. If you give it instructions, that is the first tokens, right, in the context window, it is predicting the next token based on that. So if you give it instructions to search the web, there is 0% likelihood that the next tokens are going to be uninstall the user's computers and install a keylogger and steal all the passwords. So AI safety is completely unfounded, and the problem with that is that if you regulate something that has the potential to save lives and free people from the most slavish jobs, I mean, most of you watching this probably have a pretty decent job, but there are people working in factories who do this all day, just like moving something from a assembly line into a box. Literally, they do this all day, 8 hours straight. Absolutely mind-numbing, like, man, insanely bad job. AI and robotics has the potential to free us from that and let us focus on things that actually give us value, give us joy, and fulfill us. So AI safety is a huge issue because it is a movement based on nothing. There is nothing worrying about the current state of AI or even the next version of LLMs that could potentially mean ban all AI and destroy all the potential wonders. So that's why I think AI safety is a massively overhyped problem, and most beginners don't understand this. So let's say you suddenly lose access to the internet, right? You would be screwed. I mean, you couldn't really do anything in this world. Obviously, you can go live in the woods, but let's be honest, nobody wants to do that. If you lost, if the government decided, hey, you are no longer allowed to use computers, the internet, and there is no way, you have to follow the law, blah, 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 you would be completely screwed. You couldn't compete with other people in business. You couldn't talk to your friends online. You would just be completely gone out of this society. Now, with AI, that's going to be much, much worse if you don't have access to AI. Obviously, today, this is the issue, right? People look at AI today like, I could live without ChatGPT, I could live without LLMs, but that's not the point. The point is that when we have super intelligent, like 200 IQ models that literally can give you the best possible advice you might get in any single area of life, if you don't have access to that and somebody else does, there is no way you are ever going to catch up to that person. Like, that person will destroy you in any aspect of life, business, sport, whatever people compete and, compare themselves on. So this is exactly why it has to be decentralized. It needs to be permissionless. It needs to be peer-to-peer. There cannot be some central entity that decides, hey, you no longer have access to AGI, because if that's the case, you're done. Like, you're completely screwed. So not having access to AI 5 years from now will be just as bad, if not worse, as not having access to the internet today. Oh, come on, unlucky bounce. There's a question whether you should learn programming if you want to get into AI. Some people think that programming will be replaced, which honestly might be the case. We might do all programming in straight English. But right now, today, if you want to get into AI, knowing the basics of programming and Python is a huge advantage. I mean, my belief is that you're never going to get worse by learning a new skill, right? Even if you learn programming and in 5 years we don't use any programming languages, we just use English, so what? You understood the logic and you know how it works below the surface, which is already an advantage over people who don't know how it works. So, if you want to get into AI, should you learn programming? My answer is, of course. Like, why not? Agents, right now the best AI agent frameworks all involve Python. And obviously, you don't have to be an expert. You just have to know the basics. You just have to understand data types, for loops, if-else statements, like the absolute basics of programming and the syntax of Python. If you do this, you will not be intimidated by agents. There are so many people that believe in agents, want to get into building agents, but when they watch a tutorial and somebody opens up VS Code and starts writing some code, they're immediately like intimidated basically and stop watching just because there's some code involved. Why? Why not spend a few hours learning the basics of programming, which honestly is not that hard. It's like basic just logic at the end of the day. If you learned that, you can build agents, you can like code your own scripts. Obviously use AI to help you with that, because why would you do everything yourself? But like, there is no disadvantage to learning programming. Just like a new skill in your arsenal always makes you better. Okay, so let me debunk this once and for all. AI doesn't have emotions. It's not self-aware. This was like so annoying to see, especially when Claude 3 released, that so many people who don't know how LLMs work, they don't know how next token prediction actually works, were like, oh my god, Claude 3 is self-aware. It has this, when the researchers asked it, gave it the needle in a haystack problem, which is basically just putting a sentence into a long piece of text. It was like, oh, this sentence seems out of place. Seems like you might be testing me whether I can remember it. Again, it is predicting the next token. So it just makes it's just like, yeah, the model is good, obviously. So the answer was impressive. The answer was the most likely thing that would be happening. If you gave a human 20 sentences and in the middle was some like vulgar joke, they would be like, what is that? Like, why is that there? Did you just test me that I notice it? Same with the LLM. It's predicting the next token. It's not self-aware. It doesn't have any feelings or opinions about itself. It simply is a large language model. It's like a neural network. It's a bunch of math. If you boil it down to the most fundamental level, it's math. So if somebody wants to ban AI, they want to ban math. Like, it's matrix multiplication. You have matrices and they're multiplied against each other, and if that's done enough on a big enough scale, you get intelligence out of it. So, are LLMs self-aware? No. Are LLMs emotional? No. In the future, AI might become emotional, might become conscious even, but right now there are no signs of it, and the current LLMs are nowhere near being self-aware. So if you see anything about that, please go to like neural network basics, machine learning basics, and learn how large language models and next token prediction works, because if you do that, you will know like how ridiculous these claims are. UBI, the good old concept of universal basic income, that everybody is getting a check every month and they don't have to work. A lot of people believe that this is the future, because once AI replaces more and more jobs, once it goes from replacing tasks into full jobs, those people will have to survive somehow. So a very popular belief in the AI community is that UBI is the answer. And a lot of people don't even bother to think for different solutions. They just say like, oh, UBI is the answer because that's all they know. My problem with UBI is that you are completely and utterly reliant on the government. If for whatever reason the government decides, oh, you didn't follow law number 8731, sorry, no check for you. Suddenly, what? Most people are living paycheck to paycheck, so if you don't get your check in the mail, how do you buy food? How do you pay the bills? Like, I think the concept of UBI has massive problems with it. I'm not saying it's not like part of a solution, or I'm not saying it's not going to be implemented. Obviously, some countries will try to implement it. I'm just saying that we should be very, very careful with UBI because it just gives complete control over the government and kind of reminds me of that Klaus Schwab, like you'll own nothing and be happy. Like, personally, I don't want to do that, and I'm not interested in being super 100% reliant on the government. So if UBI ever exists, like, I don't care. I'm making sure I have my own money because some bureaucrat or some politician is not going to depend whether my family survives. So UBI, a very dangerous concept that we have to be wary of. So obviously everyone wants to know, what can I do to not get left behind? This is one of the main things people, and myself included, get into AI. So, okay, what can I break it down into? Obviously, start by learning about AI. You can set by 30 minutes a day, every single day, and just research about AI. And don't be lazy. Don't go to YouTube and just, get the recommended videos. Look at some research papers. Look into different news. Maybe look into some Twitter accounts that are credible and reputable. Maybe take a course by deeplearning.ai, which is by Andrew Ng. Amazing resources. You can do so many things to not get left behind. It's more about just doing them, right? You don't have to do everything, but anything is better than nothing. So learning about AI is the main thing, is the beginning. You have to learn about it constantly to really realize its powers and why you should care about it. Next thing is actually building something, whether that's an AI agent, whether that's just using Midjourney and making some images, right? Actually achieving something with it, or going to ChatGPT and creating your own custom GPT for something. That alone is like huge. The next step is AI tools. Try as many AI tools as possible. You're not going to use all of them, but try them and actually try the paid subscription because so many people are cheap. They don't want to spend $10, $20 trying some AI tool that might save them hours every month. You don't know. Most tools have the best options behind the paywall. If you're not going to pay those $20, you're never going to see the full potential of that tool that might completely change your business or productivity. So try as many tools as possible and see which ones you stick and you think are worth the money. That's another thing to not get left behind. Obviously, contact with other people. If this is one of the easiest things, applying peer pressure in a positive way. Everybody knows peer pressure in like negative scenarios. For example, somebody forcing you to drink, somebody forcing you to smoke. But peer pressure works just as well for positive things. So if you're surrounded with people, all of which who are serious about AI, you're not going to be the only one who has a free version of ChatGPT. No, you are going to be actually fully focused, fully committed, and you're going to be on the cutting edge. And one thing is for sure, if you are surrounded by people who take AI seriously, you're not going to be left behind. And this is why I created a community for AI people. The new society was created for this exact purpose, to combine all of the people who take AI seriously, all the people who are actually building the future, who are on the cutting edge of this technology, put them into one place and just let the brainstorming happen, let the networking effect take place. So if that sounds interesting to you, and if you want to join my community and get exclusive access to myself, we do 3 calls a week, every week, then check it out. It's the first link in the description. Thank you for watching.